Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I have a beautiful album to show you today with some products that I got from Country Craft Creations that I think you're going to love. The paper line that I used was from Blue Fern, and it's called Amber and Apricot, and it's a little bit different than what their normal line looks like, so I think you'll be excited to give it a try. Let me just give you a quick rundown of what the album looks like on the inside, and then if you continue watching, I'll have the tutorial following the walkthrough. So I want to start with the front cover. I took a frame, a wood frame, and I had some embossing powder that had some blue in it, and so I sprinkled that on and used my heat tool to get it set. And the reason why I chose blue is because of this blue inside of the paper. So it really looks really good together. I had a metal bird that I put up on the corner, which is perfect to go with the nest. There was no bird inside. I had a Prima nest that had some eggs in it. These flowers that are surrounding the nest are from Blue Fern also. And I just had some odds and ends things in my stash that I added to give it a little bit of pizzazz. I have a wood butterfly too. So on the binding, I put some cream colored wedding appliques, and I kind of like putting stuff lacy, pretty, pearly, shiny stuff on my albums. On the side here, you'll see that I have a dangle. I had something in my stash that I thought looked good on that with all that sparkle. And then the back is just the paper and the other side of the applique. Okay. So let me give you a quick walkthrough. So here's what the album looks when you first open it. They both are the same design on each side. You'll notice that they have a little bit of a spine when you look at it from the side. And I just put a tag underneath the chipboard element here. I'll do the right side first because it's going to open too long for the camera to get everything. So it opens up, and I have a mat in a pocket over here on this side. Sorry. And then this opens up again, and this is plain for pictures, and then I have another pocket on this side, and it has two tags that I put in. Okay. Now, this is a waterfall, but it's also the kind that you pull and it goes through, like the cascading kind. I didn't put any paper on the back because I don't want it to get too thick when I put pictures in. So again, the front is covered and the back is not. Okay, so that's the right hand side. The left hand side, these are the chipboard elements, and I put a tag underneath. And it opens the same way as the other side. There's a pocket here with a mat. I didn't put any, oh yeah, I did put paper on the back. I didn't think I did. And there's the pocket. And it opens again. And this is plain. Here's a pocket, and I put a couple tags in there. And the waterfall is on this side also. When you pull it, it goes through. Let me do that again so you can see there's a pull tab at the bottom here, and you just pull and you get to see the fronts and the backs. Okay. And then it probably, you know, I didn't even count to see how many pictures it would hold, but I think it will hold quite a few. So if you are interested in this album, keep watching, and I have a tutorial for you. Thank you. Enjoy. I am ready to show you how to make the inside of the album. It's a really easy one, and you'll probably be able to do the whole thing in one day. So that's the best kind of album. This is the side that is actually on the left when you open the cover, and so it opens to the left. The one I'm going to show you how to make is actually going to be the one that's on the right side, so it will actually open to the right. So this is, again, it's a pocket here. It opens, and there's a pocket here. This is just open, and then this is, when you pull on this, you get the waterfall. I left the backs empty, and I would just put pictures there and try and find small pictures to go here, or quotes, or whatever. Depends on what you use the album for, but it's pretty slick. I like them. That's pretty cute. So let's get started. I'll give you some measurements so that you can get your paper ready. For the cascading waterfall, you're going to need a piece of paper at 12 by 6. And when you have that cut, you're going to put it in your scoreboard. I gotta do it. I forgot I haven't scored it yet. You're going to put it on the 12-inch side. I probably shouldn't have written that right there. I wonder if you're going to see it when I fold it. And we're going to score at 5 3/4. Nope, you won't see it. 5 3/4 and 6 1/4. Okay, and that's going to be the outside cover. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish those score marks. Make sure everything lines up. And on the second score mark. Okay, and so you have a 1/2 inch binding or side spine, and this is, remember, going to be opening this way. You're going to have to do one of each, but the one I'm showing you is the one that will go on the right hand side and open to the right. So when you're making this, this is the right side. You're going to have to go and make one that's on the left side. Okay, so I'm going to move that to the side. We don't need that for a little while. You are going to need a piece of, I use decorative paper. This is where you pull on the, see, there's a little bit hanging out here. So I wanted it to be decorative paper. I did not want it to be plain cardstock. And so I chose a paper that I wanted to see when I pulled this out, because you're going to be able to see all this. And I might put some words on here or something. I haven't decided. So I wanted, this will be the side that I want to show. And so I'm going to score the other side. And the score marks for this, let's see, we start at 3 1/2, and then we're going to go in 1/2 increments. So 3 1/2, score at 4, 4 1/2, and we're going to go to 5, and then finally 5 1/2. So we started at 3 1/2, went in 1/2 increments, and stopped at the 5 1/2 inch. Okay, so now I'm going to burnish those, and I'm going to end up folding them back and forth so that it flows easy when I am using the cascading waterfall. So I'm going to fold it first this way, and I'm going to burnish all those score marks, if I can see them, making sure, I might have to adjust the paper a little bit so it lines up. Burnish these. Okay, almost done with this side. And I think I have one more. Yep. Okay, and so it should be a little bit more flexible. But I am going to go ahead and burnish on the other side too, just to give it a little bit more, it'll just be a little bit easier to pull on and have the pictures flow. And this is a little bit thicker paper, the Blue Fern is, so, and it's not cracking when I'm doing this, so that's good. I've usually not folded it a whole lot and just used it flat as matte paper, or, you know, covering the base paper, but it's not cracking, so good sign. Okay, so again, it's more flexible for when you pull on this, when you pull. Okay, I'm going to move that to the side. And you were also, also going to need 5 pieces that measure 4 by 5 1/2. You need 5 of those. Okay. So now we're just going to put together the cascading waterfall. It's really easy. You're going to need some score tape, and I'm going to use the 3/4 inch score tape. And the first thing we're going to do is place score tape in between our score marks, but we have to start with one at the very bottom. So with the short piece towards me and the long piece away from me, I'm going to go ahead and put down score tape. And I will bring this closer here in just a second so you can see it. In between the score marks, because this is how we're going to attach the pictures. Don't want it to go over the score marks. And 2 more. You'll have 5 altogether. And I can trim up anything that's overhanging. Make sure it's on good. Okay, so with the first one is on the base, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And let me trim. I have a little bit of paper here, or score tape coming off the side. Okay. And so now we're going to attach these to the mechanism here. And so I'm going to actually fold this back, and so I just see the first piece of score tape. And I'm going to peel that off. And I'm going to center this on top of my paper. So I'm going to line this up on my grid just to know that I have that straight. Okay, and there'll be a little bit of overhang on each side. And then you take it to the very top. Okay, I gotta turn it upside down, sorry. It's easier for me to see it if it's upside down. Okay. So now we're going to move to the second piece, and we're going to make sure we line it up on the side so that it is lined up with the left and the right hand side here. We're going to place it at the very top. So I took off my score tape. Again, I'm going to turn it upside down. It's just easier for me. And that is not straight at all. Let's see. I'm going to have to trim that because that's not straight. Hold on. I'm going to chop it off real quick because that's going to bug me. I'll show you what I did. So see, can you see right here? It doesn't line up just right, and that is not okay. So I am going to snip it so that it does. There, easy fix. So this time I'm just going to have to be a little bit more careful because I want it to line up just right. Okay, so now I'm ready for the third one. Turning it upside down, peeling off my score tape, maybe. Sometimes my nails work, sometimes they don't. There we go. Okay, we've got to line it up real good. We want to center it so that it's lined up on both sides and at the end here. That one was much better. Okay, next one, folding it back, just showing one piece of the score tape, took off the backing, lining it up with both sides and at the top here. Push down real good, and we have one more. Now on my first one that I did, I did not round my corners, but I think if I were to make this again, I would. I think it looks a little bit nicer. Okay. So you just want to make sure you've made sure that everything's attached real well. So just double checking. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is get our 1-inch strip, the 1x12, and I have not scored that yet, so I need to score it. It has 2 score marks, and we're going to score that one at 5 1/4 and 10 3/4. Okay, so this was 1x12, and we're scoring at 5 1/4 and 10 3/4. Can you see? It gets blurry. Maybe it's better there. Anyway, okay. So just going to burnish this real quick on each of those score marks. And this is going to be really easy to attach. What we're going to do is line up close to the bottom here. Let's see. Let me double check my other one just to make sure I'm putting it in the right spot. Okay. Line it up with this bottom piece of cardstock. So you don't want it to cover up this decorative paper. Let me get you a little closer. Maybe. Sorry. Okay. So you want to line it up with the bottom of the bottom piece of cardstock. So we're going to go ahead and I use 3/4, and then it's not quite, or 3/8 score tape, and it doesn't quite cover it, and I want to make sure it's real durable, so I'm going to stick a piece of 1/8 score tape in the center of the two. But you can use glue if you want. I just, for the construction, thought that this would be a little bit better for me. So I have that little space in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and just fill that in with the skinny stuff. Okay. I have score tape out everywhere. Okay. Make sure it's on there real good. And we're going to line it up at the bottom. So I got to take off my score tape. I have the little piece on the left when I adhere this. Taking all the backings off. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, I had to go off camera and figure out what I was doing. When I was looking at it, I couldn't figure out what I was doing. So this is how it was before when it's done and closed. But what we want to do before we attach that 1x12" piece, we're going to take the decorative paper that's at the bottom and flip it back, okay, so that we're just looking at the cardstock. Then we're going to line up the strip of paper that's 1x12 with the bottom of the cardstock. Okay, push down and then flip it over to the back, and we're going to adhere these two together. So it was like this, and now we're going to just put a little glue here and stick it together. I'm not going to put glue all the way to the edge because I don't want that to stick down. I just want it so that it covers the other piece of paper. So just enough glue to go on the paper, the brown. Okay. just going to put it at the edge here. And I'm just using the art glitter glue for that. And I'm just going to push it down, give it a second to dry, and it only takes about a second. Okay. And we're going to tuck this underneath that band that we just made. Okay, so that's what it looks like up close. We tucked it underneath. So you can see now that the decorative paper is at the bottom and it's the back is tucked into that band we just attached. Okay, now the next part, before we attach this to the 6 by 12 piece, before we attach it to this, because this is going to end up going, remember we got to do it this way, I'm doing this side. I want to make sure that I put my score tape on the back first so that it's easier to adhere without the bulk of everything on there. So again, I'm using these 6 by 6 score tape pieces, which are so much of a time saver. No waste, because whatever I cut off I can use on something else. So I'm going to trim it just a hair. See if that's about right. Looks like a little bit more I need. Okay, and then I need to trim it this direction. Nope, don't. Okay, I'm getting ready to put it on. Sorry for the delay. There we go. Now I'm just going to take it off of the sheet and I'm going to lay it backwards to me. Okay, see, way faster. All right, so now we're going to adhere our waterfall into our book, and we're going to line it up on the left hand side. So there's a little bit of a space here that I don't want people to see. I don't want it just to be the plain cardstock. Hold on, I don't like that. Okay, so I don't want the cardstock showing once I adhere this mechanism. So I just cut about a 1-inch strip that's about 5 7/8 long so that I can glue it down so that it kind of, you see that decorative border on the edge. So I'm just going to use my art glitter glue and just, I'm going to bump it up against the score line but not over. And there we go. Actually, this looks pretty close to 6 inches instead of the 5 7/8, but you do what you want to do. Okay, and while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and add, this was a 1/2 inch spine, so I cut mine to about 3/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to put a piece in the center here. So this was 5 3/8, excuse me, not 5 3/8, it was 3/8 inches by 5 7/8. And that's going to go on the inside, and I have one for the outside also. And I already inked the edges of my decorative paper. Okay. Make sure that's on. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and put mine on the spine here too. And again, this was 3/8 of an inch by 5 7/8, and I've already inked the edges. Some people don't mind if they don't ink the edges. I usually like to. So I did it off camera to kind of save time. With this amber and apricot, I've been using a lot of the walnut stain for my edges. I kind of like it. I like a little bit of a darker edge when I am going around there. So that just gives it a nicer look, and when we close our book you'll be able to see this. Okay, so mine opens to the right. Yours will need to open to the right, but you'll also need to make another one. I keep telling you that because I will forget if I don't. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our front, or let's see, what do we want to do? I'm going to go ahead and put my front cover on. So what I did was I looked to see what would look good next to each other, and I cut a piece of matte paper. Let's see. And it's 5 5/8 by 5 7/8. And the paper that I chose, I was trying to decide if I should do this one and have it like this, or do I use this one? And I think I'm going to use I think I'm going to go with this one because these flowers match the flower that's on the bike. So this will go, the other one will go on the inside. Okay, so I'm just going to glue that down. I'm going to open this flat, put my art glitter glue around the edges here. I like to kind of put some in the middle just so it lays nice and flat. Don't need a whole lot, and I use that tip so I don't waste. That silver tip really helps a lot. And line this up here. And give it a good burnishing so that the glue sticks real well. Okay. So that's what the cover is. Let's go ahead then and attach this piece. Now when we do this, we're going to line up the top of this with the top of our paper so that the decorative paper is going to hang off the bottom a little bit. Okay, and so we want to line it up with the top and the left hand side. And you're not going to put adhesive everywhere. The only place you put adhesive is on this band that's in the back. That's it, just the band. Okay, and I am going to use score tape. And I just want to make sure I cover all of it so that it stays down real well. And I'll put a line of that 1/8 on there too, because this is the only thing that's attaching it to that cover. So I want it to be well covered on the band. Okay. Go ahead and take off the score tape here. Push that one down enough. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to turn this sideways. It's just easier for me to do it that way. And I'm going to line it up with the top and the side. And just push down real well. So let's see if our mechanism is working. So you're going to pull on the decorative paper and it should very easily, look at that, fabulous. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is mat. I only matted the tops, not the underneath. If you're going to just mat the top, you need 5 of them. and I've already cut those also, and mine measure 5 3/8 by 3 7/8. 5 3/8 by 3 7/8. And then just decide the order you want to put them on and just glue them down. Okay, I'll glue them down off camera and I'll be back to show you what mine looks like once that's done. I matted the inside of my book on this one. I don't remember if I told you what the measurements are. It's for the mats I used 5 3/8 going across and 3 7/8 for each one going up and down. So, and I didn't do the backs, but you obviously could. Oh, stuck on the board here. Okay, so now there's a flip that's going to be a page that'll be here that opens out. It has pockets, and so I'll start that. So you're going to need to cut some paper. You're going to need a piece that's 6 3/8 by 5 7/8. We're going to score that at 3/4 of an inch on the 6 3/8 side. So 6 3/8 across the top of your board, and we're going to go to 3/4. Go ahead and burnish that. So let me show you. That's going to go right here on this side, and it'll open up like that. So we need to remember that the lip is going to go to the right. Lip to the right. Now for the pockets, you're going to have a pocket on the one side, and then when you flip it open, you're going to have a pocket on the inside too. And so you're going to need 2 pieces of paper, and they measure 6 7/8 by 4 1/2. And we're going to score 1/2 inch to make a pocket, and we're going to do that on 3 sides. So we're going to want to do 1/2 on this side. With the 4 1/2 at the top, we're going to do another half. And with the 6 3/4 back on the top, that's where we do our other half. So it's on 3 sides, and you're going to do that to both pieces of paper for the pockets. A half, a half, and a half. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and fold on my score lines. Okay. I'm going to put 3/8 of an inch score tape along 3 sides, and then I'm going to cut out corners a little bit so that it gets rid of some of the bulk, and I will trim a little bit off the top at an angle too, so that takes care of a little bit of bulk and makes things slide in there a little bit easier. Go ahead and do that on the next one too. Want to make sure it's down good, the tape, like so. Didn't use my score tool yet. I'll do that in a minute. Three sides. You could use the art glitter glue too, and I have, but sometimes I have a hard time when I'm doing pockets using the art glitter glue just because I can't hold on to it very well. Okay, down here I'll show the opposite side. There is a little square. We're going to cut at an angle on each side to get rid of some of that bulk. So there's one side, and the tape's on here, it's still there, and at an angle. Okay, I am also going to angle up to the score line on the top of the pocket. So they're just kind of, like I said, it takes care of some bulk and it makes things slide into the pockets a little bit easier. So I'll do that to the other one too. So I'm going to turn it over so you can see the square in the bottom corner where the score lines overlap. Cut at an angle on each side of this score mark. And some people go straight across. I just have always done it at an angle. Either way works. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut at an angle at the top. Okay. So now I'm going to do a better job of scoring or burnishing, just to make sure everything is as flat as I can get it. There we go for that one. And I'll do this one too. There used to be a time where I didn't think you had to burnish when I first started. Yeah, there's a big difference if you don't. Okay, so with our 6 3/8 by 5 7/8 piece that we scored at 3/4 of an inch, that 3/4 of an inch is on the right hand side for this one because this is the right hand part of our book. We are going to attach a pocket here. So I'm going to line up the part that has a lip to the bottom of this one that has the flap facing down. And when I do this, I do the sides first with my score tape. I take the two sides off. And I push those sides in, and then I bring up the bottom side. So push these two in now that the tape's gone, bring up the bottom, and they catch on the tape. I see a little piece hanging out there I don't like. Can't get it. Huh. There we go. Okay, I'm going to turn this sideways, and I'm going to line it up at the edge and make sure the sides are lined up and it doesn't look, hold on, lift this up a hair. I don't like how it lined up. There we go. Make sure it stays down real good, so I'm going to burnish it again, especially on the right because I had a little issue with my tape, so I want to make sure it's down. Okay, so then when we flip open this page, we're going to want a pocket here so that we can put something inside. So with this one, we have to be careful that when we put this down, we don't cover up that score line. We can butt it up against it, but we can't go over it at all. So we want to be careful on that one so that the book, the flap, opens and closes correctly. And I'm going to turn it again, line it up on top of that score line, and make sure that it lines up on the sides. And give it a burnishing. So it'll open like so. You can have something inside here. When you open it, there'll be something inside here. So to attach that to our base piece, we're just going to put adhesive right here and place it. Now it's a little bit smaller than what the cover is, and I did that on purpose. Just center it. You'll have just like an 1/8 of an inch difference, but it's better to do that than to have it overlap or to have pieces come off the side. So I cut it just a hair shorter. So I'm going to go ahead and use, you know what, I'm going to use my glue, why not, on this one. Just on the flap here. Come on, glue. I think I need to stick the pin in there. I accidentally walked away from my glue and I didn't put the pin in, and I'm probably has some dried glue in there. That should do the trick. Yep. Okay. And I have my book laying sideways. I'm going to eyeball it, line it up at the end, but you're going to have a little bit of space on the top and the bottom. Okay. Make sure it's down real good. A little glue there. Okay. And so now it's time to mat. I've already cut my mats. So this one is, let's see, I think it's 6 7/8 by 4 1/2. Let me double check. No, it's not. Where did I write down? Mats for covers, inside pocket, pocket, score 3 sides. Huh, I bet I didn't write it down. Okay, this is 5 3/4 by 3 7/8. I'll say that again. 5 3/4 by 3 7/8. That's what I cut mine to. And I already inked the edges. And I'm going to just plop that on the page here. Okay. Again, I'm going to turn it sideways. It's just easier for me. Make sure it's lined up nice and even. And push down. Use your bone folder, or some people use like a spackling spatula, a roller of some sort. Make sure the corners are good. Now, this next one, it's still 5 3/4, but I just cut it to 3 inches. You're going to tuck it down inside, so you could probably do yours a hair shorter if you wanted to. I don't want it to get too much on it. There we go. So mine's going to look like this on the outside, like that. So again, I'm going to turn it sideways just so it's easier for me to see. Let's see, do I want that one? Hold on, I got another one cut too. Maybe I want to go a different, maybe I want this one. I think I want this one. It's still the same measurement. I'm going to flip-flop the one I had for the back page. I decided I like this one better for the front. Okay. Slide it down inside that pocket. Leave a little bit of a margin at the top. And I'm pressing down. Okay, let's do the inside now. So when we open it, we've got some beautiful paper here. I'm going to put that like so. That kind of bothers me that the bird's upside down, just so you know. Because, well, it is what it is. I got to do it this way. Okay. I really like the paper, but I don't know that I like the bird sideways. I can live with it. Okay, put it to the edge, but not all the way down, because we want to leave a little bit of a lip or margin. And perfect. And again, I cut 5 3/4 by 3 inch for the inside piece, the inside of the pocket. I think that goes better than the other one that I had. I like those two together better. Put some glue on. It's much easier to use glue for stuff like this than the score tape, because once that score tape's down, it's hard to move it around. Even though this dries fast, you still have a little bit of time that you can move it around. So I'm going to slide that in, move it down. Come on, it's already getting... There we go. Okay, we're getting almost done. See how fast it goes? I mean, you have to make 2 of them, but it goes really, really fast. And then here we have, so the bird, oh well, maybe with all embellishments it might look won't bother me as much. Wish I would have thought of that before I cut the paper, because I don't want to waste the paper. Okay. And this was the same size as the front cover. And looks good. One thing I will tell you, I love this paper, but this to me is kind of a rosy color and this is kind of a burnt orange, and I don't really know if I like those two together. I could have put them farther apart, but okay. So there we have the inside done. I am going to make insert not tags, but for pictures, for journaling, whatever. So I'm going to cut a couple of craft pieces of paper. They'll probably be, oops, let's go, this measured 5 3/4. I'm going to make the cards, I think I'm going to go 5 1/4, and I'll make them 4 3/4. So 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. And then I will put those inside. Then we'll go to the cover, and the cover is just your basic everyday normal cover. I might add these new metal things I bought and have something hanging from the outside on the spine. Normally I just put like flowers, like some sort of lace, but I think I'll go with some sort of charm this time. All right, let me get my paper measured and I'll be back. So a couple of things. On the tags, I ended up doing a decorative border punch. They originally measured 5 by 4 1/2, and I did the front and the back, and I did the matting just 1/8 of an inch smaller. I've been doing that more lately instead of 1/4 of an inch. I kind of like the smaller border. And then I ended up doing 2 tags in the inside pockets, and these are 3 by 5. And I did cover both sides. I inked the edges and punched a hole in the center. And so I put those here. And I'll be putting some seam binding. And I like it when the fibers kind of stick out the side of the book. So there's that side. And then I did the same thing over here. There's the solid piece, and then there's 2 tags inside on this one. So I'm ready to do the cover, and you're going to need some chipboard, and so you're going to need to cut 2 pieces at 6 3/4 by 6. They are 6 across and 6 3/4 going up and down, and the spine is 1 1/2. That looks bigger than 1 1/2. Looks like I didn't cut it at 1 1/2. It looks like 5/8, 1 5/8. But that was by mistake. I meant to do it 1 1/2. Yep, it's 1 5/8 by 6 3/4. So 1 1/2 or 1 5/8, whatever you want to do. And the length is 6 3/4. So then for the paper to cover it, you want to go 1 inch border around each side. And so because it was 6 3/4 inches long, I have my paper at 8 3/4 inches long. And I laid it out, and I thought, well, I need about 17 inches. So I had to use 2 pieces of 12 by 12, cut it to 8 3/4, and then I took one piece and cut it 5 inches long. And so I added a 1/4 inch piece of score tape to connect the 2 pieces. So I will be laying these out. So it looks something like this. Okay. And then I will be mitering the corners, putting adhesive around the edges, and cutting, or I already said mitering the corners, and then folding it up and placing some decorative paper on top of it. So 2 pieces at 6 by 6 3/4, one at 1.5 by 6 3/4, and the paper was 8 3/4 by 17 inches long. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my adhesive on the back of the chipboard, and then I will start getting the wrap ready for you. Okay, the next step. Here's what the chipboard looks like once it's adhered to the paper. You can see that I mitered the corners, and I did not go right up to the cardboard. I don't know if you can see that, but I left a little bit of a overhang, and that's so that you don't see the cardboard, the chipboard, when you are after you wrap it. I also put 1/4 inch score tape in between these 2 pieces just to give me a little space so that when I bend it, it's got that extra space that it needs. So I placed the score tape around the perimeter of the paper, and I put score tape around the perimeter of the chipboard. And I'm just gonna, I kind of want the paper to fold a little easier, so I'm training it. Oh, I just knocked the camera. By bending it, and that'll make it a little bit easier as I push it over. Another thing, I did take an awl and poke a hole because I'm going to place this on my spine and have something dangling from it. So I wanted to punch the hole before I put the decorative paper on the inside so that I can cover up the prongs that'll be on there. But I'll wait to put it on until I have decorative paper on the outside. Okay, so that's what that hole's for. So now we just have to fold over, and I do my long sides first. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking the backing off of all of the tape, and remembering to take off the stuff in the middle, which sometimes I've been known to forget. And this time I put some on the middle, the spine, because sometimes I didn't feel like the paper was adhering as well as I want. So we'll see if this does the trick. I just put some on the outside or on the edges of the spine. Okay. And I'll take off this ones in between. A lot of times I need, well, this awl will help, just to kind of lift it up. Oh, no, that's... This is the part I always have to... Oh, there we go. Okay. Take out the middle. Once it gets going, it's fine. There we go. Okay. All right, so like I said, I do the long sides first. So I will take off this bottom piece and just bring it over. Oh, you know what? A lot of times I like to put the glitter glue in on the edge. I'll do that on the other ones. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I'm going to take my score tool and just make sure it's sticking down real well. I'm going to end up going here in the middle. Supposedly, and I think it's true, if you run a bead of the art glitter glue right up against that chipboard, the paper seems to just stick to it. You have a nice clean corner as you do your wrap. So if you just put a real fine bead right up against the chipboard, and I'll take off that adhesive strip. Let me throw these away. Okay. Oh, I'm going to have to poke another hole through the, I'm covering up my hole on the, for my dangle on the spine. It's the easy fix. And I'm going to run the bone folder along the edge. So what I'm going to do before I forget is take that all, poke it through the paper that I just, can you see it just goes through real easy. Okay, and now the side pieces. And I'm going to make sure that that paper sticks to that tape in the center on the sides of the spine. So I'll just give it a little push with the bone folder. Score, yeah. Okay. So we want to make sure that the chipboard gets covered on our corners. So we want to make sure that we just kind of push in that excess on the edges. Put a line of glue. Poking that in. Cover up that corner. And burnish. Okay, and the last one, again tucking in those corners. That's why you cut a little bit of extra. You don't want any chipboard showing. So I just kind of take my fingernail and poke it in. There we go. Okay, and a quick line of glue. Now this book is not going to have any hinges in it, so that's why it's such a quick book to make. Make sure you press down real good. Okay, so I am going to use decorative paper now to put in the inside. I'll do one in the center, and I don't know if I'll do it the same. Yeah, I'll probably use all the same color paper. And so I will do it in two pieces. Or do I want three? I'll do it in two. I'll have this one go as long as as it can, and then I'll place another piece here at the end. So as I'll have some extra that I'll need to cut out right and put it right there, but you won't be able to see that seam because I'll have something glued on top of it. The pages we made. Let me show you. So this will be here and this will be here, so if there's some paper overlapping, you're not going to see it. Okay, so now I just have to choose my decorative paper and adhere that, and the last step will be to tape down the little booklets and decorate. So I will show a still picture at the end. I'm calling this the Amber and Apricot mini album, and so hopefully it's a quick, easy one for you, easy to give to gift, or nice to give for gifts. Let me know if you have questions, but I think this one's a pretty easy one for you to start with. So thanks for watching, and you can go to countrycraftcreations.com for these materials. Have a good one.